The family of Ruby Franke is officially speaking out 2 years after the collapse of the mom influencer's family vlog channel Empire and her arrest and conviction on child abuse charges. She will serve up to 30 years in prison, but Ruby's estranged husband and eldest son and daughter have all come forward sharing parts of their stories and calling out flaws in the mom influencer world. In particular, they shared footage of what never made it into the final episodes on YouTube. Now, to quickly recap, Ruby Franke documented her family for years on their YouTube channel called 8 Passengers. At its peak, it had 2 million subscribers. She posted all of the time, and over time, followers would occasionally point out the increasingly aggressive or downright evil things that she would do or say, subtly woven into, of course, much larger, wholesome family content. At the time, it was just seen as strict parenting. Some old fans of the channel commented recently and said, "And to think I grew up watching them thinking they had such a cool life, and how I can actually remember those vlogs." I mean, people were obsessed. It had 2 million subscribers. "I watched them the entire time as a child and wished I lived like them. Well then, watching it was a shock." And then someone else responded and said, "It's scary to think how many kids were probably watching their channel." I mean, again, it was a huge channel, especially a family channel. I feel like that's predominantly watched by young women, which is scary to know kind of how this channel unfolded. Another commenter said, "Knew something was up when she took her son's bed for 6 months," which apparently she did. I think this was actually documented on YouTube, and made him sleep on a beanbag chair in their basement for 6 months.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months, and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
You've been sleeping on a beanbag.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October, and they gave my room back like 2 weeks ago.
And I think this is before then they moved him out and had him like live alone. I mean, crazy, horrific stuff unfolded sometimes before people's very eyes. It just shows the power of how things can deceive people, how social media, even when crazy things are happening, "Oh, but they look like a happy family." Like, another girl also responded and said, "Or when she told the school to not give her daughter any food because she didn't pack her own lunch."
Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. And hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
And this stuff was published on YouTube. And people, like I said, they started to understand something was weird. But she was still posting stuff like totally normal. "Yep, not going to give my daughter food today because she forgot to pack her lunch and she has to learn her lessons." Watching the clips back, it's fascinating that she got so huge and remained so huge for years. But things didn't stay that way, obviously. I mean, at one point, she threatened her child with no dinner because they didn't earn the right to eat that day.
"I'm only going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner."
Insane stuff. What viewers, though, couldn't see behind the scenes was that the Franke family had been working with a therapist named Jody Hildebrandt. She ran a group called Connections that was essentially family counseling, but really acted more like a cult in which she was the leader of. She would apparently lure families in by just providing family counseling, but then the deeper the families got into her connections, the darker her teachings became. So much so that at one point, Ruby's husband, Kevin, was moved out of their home, and Jody, the therapist, was moved in. This is how Kevin recently described that scenario on Good Morning America.
She came across as somebody who was firm and very authoritative. So we thought, oh, this is a perfect fit. What became surprising to me was when the focus gradually shifted away from just solely on our children to us as a couple.
Do you feel like she brainwashed you?
She took control of something that was very, very important to me. My marriage, my family, and she used those like a carrot on a stick.
Looking back, I treated her as a god, and I trusted her so much.
Kevin says Jody and Ruby insisted he move out and cut off contact with his family to work on his addiction to selfishness.
And so he moved out. I mean, they treated this woman like she was the end-all be-all. She knew the truth. She knew how to perfect their family. And they allowed crazy things to unfold. And again, it got significantly more sinister. But step one, remove the father from the household. Crazy. I think he goes on here a little bit, so I'll let him speak a little bit more.
How could you have left your family?
The bottom line is that I was choosing to trust a licensed professional mental health counselor and my wife. And they gave some terrible counsel. And I have regrets, and I wish that I hadn't done those things.
Like, so many things that you understand, or you as a person are like, how could someone ever do X, Y, and Z? And then you learn about cults and you learn about that kind of like pressure, or kind of like you lose your own identity because you're following it, and then you just do insane things. It's weird how someone can have that much influence over someone's life. This random woman. Another time, according to the oldest son, Chad, who was in that video, per the demands of Jody, again, the therapist, she told him that he should live apart from his parents and have no contact with them in order to live a more difficult life so that he could learn how to be a better person and a more well-behaved son as a minor. So this boy lived apart from his family also for like a year, biked to school. I mean, like crazy stuff that was happening behind the scenes. Let me just pause this craziness for a second to tell you about something that gives me peace of mind and honestly helps me sleep at night. It's called Beam Dream Powder. Beam is proudly founded in America and run by people who share our values, hard work, integrity, and delivering results. It's science-backed, healthy nighttime blend packed with ingredients shown to improve your sleep so you can wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. Dream is made with a powerful blend of all natural ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. This dream powder just increases my focus and energy levels, and when I get a good night's rest, I finally feel like I can tackle life head on instead of just trying to get through it, which is me on some mornings, especially the mornings when I'm not consuming my Beam powder. Now, I am not the only one. Beam has already improved over 17.5 million nights of sleep, helping people across the country wake up and feel their best. And Beam is giving my listeners the ultimate patriotic discount of 40% off. Try their best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time. All you have to do is go to shopbeam.com/TCS and use TCS at checkout. That's Beam, BEAM.com/TCS and use code TCS for up to 40% off. Support an American company, invest in yourself, and start getting your best night's sleep. Now back to Ruby. The things that got her arrested when the neighbor found the boy, because the boy left Jody's house, he came to the neighbor's house and had duct taped arms and ankles, was fully emaciated. He had like, it's like a hot honey and cayenne pepper put on top of the wounds the kids had around their wrists because they were being restrained apparently in Jody's house because they were misbehaving. But then they were all dirty. People thought they weren't fed or cleaned for a long duration of time. I think they would get the wounds from the straps of holding them down. And then to punish them further, they would take off the straps, put the honey and the cayenne pepper, and then put the duct tape, and then put the handcuffs back on.
So the honey and the cayenne was just for pain.
Yeah, I think it was pain. I mean, because it would have been pain. I don't know if there's some other like homeopathic remedy, but there's no freaking way. That just sounds like absolute pain and torture. So they were just torturing the kids by the end of it. I mean, it just freaks me out about humanity too, that like you think that person would have never done that, right? But then that version of the person did that thing. And it's like, how do you get from point A to point B? Terrifying. Also, apparently, Sherry had complained to authorities multiple times about abuse. The older daughter, who especially started seeing it happening with her younger kids, the police did nothing about it. Like, she apparently called authorities at one point.
Was she in the house with them?
She was away in college for the extent of like this abuse. By the time it got this bad, like I think even Chad was gone. Like the older kids were no longer in the home. Now Chad, her oldest son, and Kevin, her estranged husband, decided to help with a new Hulu docuseries which documents the demise of their mother to shine an extra bright light on the reality of their experience with family vlogging. They gave the production team over 1,000 hours of their vlog content completely unedited. Here's just one example with Chad in it.
So tell us who you're named after.
Grandpa.
Which grandpa?
Correct.
Okay, we're going to try this again. You be a little more talkative here.
I am. I'm talking, answering your questions.
Hey! If I hear one more word, get out!
The way her energy just shifts is terrifying.
If I'm going to let you
I don't.
vlog, and if I'm going to spend all my time helping you, you're going to help me too.
I don't know what to do.
Be excited to tell them where your name came from, even if you have to fake it.
Oh.
Fake being happy. Okay?
I don't know if I can right now.
Oh, that breaks my heart. So he literally says, I don't know if I can right now. I mean, she's saying the quiet part out loud. Fake being happy. They have it on camera. Fake being happy. Oh, I'm so glad that they have this footage though, because again, and this is what the docuseries did so well, it woke people up to what happens behind the scenes. And especially in cases like this, it's so compelling and important to see that, even though it's heart-wrenching. Someone said, the fact that she recorded her own evidence. Clout is one hell of a drug. I feel like that is the moral of many stories that we cover in this channel. Narcissism, clout chasing gets you to terrifying places. This doc fully just pulled back the curtain. Here's another example of that. This is Ruby just filming herself in her bedroom. And also, just a reminder, I believe at one point, they were posting daily content. And daily content is very difficult to do, especially when you're vlogging, because you have to show, it's like Logan Paul back in the day. He used to do those daily vlogs. You had to do absurd things just to keep it entertaining, because there's like not that much you can just vlog about your daily life and like make it interesting. To imagine having a mother trying to look for those moments all day, every day. I can't even imagine, let alone an abusive mother. Again, in a way that sort of is abusive just by filming that much, but here's her busy, with her YouTube channel while she has her family downstairs.
There are about 53 Saturdays in a year. This jar is holding 100 marbles. This jar is holding 100 marbles.
Ruby Franke was one of YouTube's most popular family vloggers. Now she is serving up to 30 years in prison for child abuse.
Okay, so the last tip that I have for calendaring is remembering my last tip for...
The first time her family has agreed to give a detailed account of the events. This is the sort of beginning of the doc. They've provided an archive of over 1,000 hours of unseen footage.
I always ask myself when I schedule a weekend, is what I scheduled worth... Hey, I'm still recording! Come on! Why am I hearing all this noise?
Oh.
35, and we're trying to get ready for church. That's why.
In our church, in our faith, we were raised to believe that the ultimate thing that you can become in this world is a parent.
I am a busy mom of 6 children, and I am always on the go.
And Ruby's sole ambition was to be seen as the perfect mom. It's all she talked about. It's
Crazy eyes, man.
She focused on. But she wasn't getting enough praise and attention for it. And so she decided she was going to create a YouTube channel.
The way that the documentarians showed, as Kevin's talking there, her just outtakes of her trying to get that scene of showing, they did it so beautifully to just show how long that takes. And then to kind of cut into these moments where she's screaming at her kids in between those takes of being like, my pens. Oh, she's filming her own evidence that's showing an evilness that just very much foreshadows what's to come here. Losing her marbles while holding marbles is an interesting juxtaposition. Which it is. The dad getting away punish-free is a crime in itself. He was willing to put her over his own kids. This man is not innocent. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from this docuseries is people asking the questions as to how this father was not arrested alongside Jody and Ruby. Which frankly, I was wondering the same thing. I was confused about it also. Watching this man allow these 2 women to take over his family and then abuse his children is utterly sickening. There is something especially sickening about the protector of a household, the father, doing nothing to stop it, complacent, while other women bully him and you let some strange woman into your house and just take over your life and you just let it happen. But as he mentioned in that interview earlier, he wasn't even living at the home and potentially didn't even have contact with his children during the year that the abuse escalated to the levels that ultimately led to the women's arrest. So yes, it's incomprehensible. Again, it's incomprehensible to let a woman move into your home, to then agree to said woman when she says, I think you should move out and I think you should go no contact with your children to become a better parent. None of it makes sense. One commenter pointed out, I was giving the husband a pass because the oldest son still likes him, but I think they're just not ready to unpack that yet. Honestly, when I first watched that interview with the son and the father, I thought the same thing. And I still sort of do. I mean, for the sake of their family, if having a relationship with their dad again is what's best for the family to heal, then I'm glad that they can begin that relationship again. The son does not hate his father. Actually, for a time, they were living together as roommates after all this to kind of rebond and become father and son again. But the comment section certainly does hate the father. They rightfully pointed out that although Kevin wasn't there for that final year, that doesn't account for the years of potential abuse that were basically caught on camera with him in the shots. And then another commenter pointed out this and said, according to the eldest daughter, which is Sherry, Ruby has been abusive the whole time and Kevin did nothing. So it wasn't just that last year. It had been things had been going on for years. So he's like, he's not innocent in this, but he is, according to the law. Being complacent and allowing this to happen does feel just as bad in a different way of like, where was their defense? Like, why were you not protecting them? That same daughter, Sherry, actually spoke out in a recent interview of her own while promoting her new book. She went so far as to say this about family vlogging as a whole.
To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you are part of me.
Did you believe that she was apologetic?
I think that she's as sorry as she can be. What she has done is so bad that I don't think her mind allows her to kind of fully comprehend the guilt of all that. And so I think that she probably genuinely believed everything she said. I don't believe it, though.
She's so sharp. She just seems so smart. Got engaged and is like living a life and wants to go private and wants nothing to do with this world anymore. And I have so much respect for that.
Sherry now trying to turn her pain into purpose.
There is no such thing as a moral or ethical family vlogger.
Advocating to restrict family vlogging with children too young to consent.
Is there anything that you would say to Ruby if you had the chance?
Probably tell her I'm happy without you.
There is no such thing as a moral or ethical family vlogger. Yeah, that line, like, hit me, too, because as the children speaking out against it kind of shows it in a completely different light than the way that we perceive family vlogging. The question around family vlogging is one of the biggest questions I left with after watching this docuseries. I guess I'm sort of stricken by some of the contradictions of my favorite content creators, some of whom have kids and post about them. They often end up serving as role models for other families and help to encourage others by showing the joys of having a family that then makes other people, like myself, feel more comfortable and like, oh, I can do this and have kids. And there's a lot of good that comes from that because just showcasing your kids and dancing with them and having fun, like, isn't inherently wrong or bad. On the other hand, some of the other content creators I follow avoid showing their kids' faces in any kind of content or in Instagram photos, like they're blurred out, they're not shown, which I think also is a sign of the times and that potentially those perceptions are changing and people are no longer comfortable just showing their kids. But as I thought more about those families that I follow, I quickly realized that their content with their kids is not their sole source of income. Their livelihood is not hinged on the success of their family content. It is not daily nor weekly. It's not expected all the time. There isn't a camera breathing down their children's neck at every single intimate family moment. So that seems to be where the trouble is almost guaranteed to arise. The Frankes themselves said, as the commercial success of the family content increased, the dynamic suddenly shifted from the children being kids to becoming employees, which also meant that they were always at work, in a sense. And for families like Ruby, there was no boundaries to what she considered content. In her case, everything was filmed, from her children getting visibly sick on camera to yelling at them. I mean, wherever she was, so was the camera. It reminded me of like a new iteration of the TLC family shows from back in the day. It's equivalent to letting in a film crew into your home, and 9 times out of 10, it ends up making the family famous, but wrecking the entire family in the process. So the question around family vlogging content remains. If kids are not old enough to consent to being filmed, should it even be allowed? But then that question raises another question about taking photos or videos of your children and ever posting them on social media at all. Where is that limit? Where is that line? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like one day I want to be a mom, obviously, hopefully soon. And so do I never post a photo of my children? Do I blur their faces? It does blur those lines for all family posting, all content creation. Because yes, this is an extreme and this is a horrible extreme. And I think there is a criticism to be had on family vlogging specifically, because that does mean a camera's in your home all the time. There's a deadline every day to document that and post it. I think that's wrong. But then it's like, but is posting an Instagram photo wrong? It's a weird world to maneuver and to watch right now as not a mother, you know? It's tricky. One thing we can gather from this story that is for certain is that you never know what is happening behind closed doors, no matter how they portray themselves on social media. And the moral of this story is first and foremost, protect your babies, whatever that looks like within your family. Make sure that your home is in order and your loved ones are safe before ever even thinking of posting something on the internet. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video if you enjoyed it. And lastly, if you'd like other content, you can follow me on Instagram and X. Thank you so much and have a great day.